for the next one is on mental health. We'll be looking at how important mental health is, especially at a time like this. And it would be nice to bring an expert who will dive into that. So, and the topic we'll be going into will be handled by Dr. Roderick Wellington. He is from Maryland, and he's an expert with 25 years experience in mental health, mental being and mental advocacy and mental health. His topic will be on therapeutic healing and making mental wellness a priority for a time like this. He's someone that we all need to listen to, because at a time like this is when people start to drift into despair, hopelessness, and frustration. He's very committed. He wants you to know that you are not alone in this journey in life, and that his priority is to ensure a positive outcome for you. Dr. Wellington, over to you for your presentation and your topic. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for that warm introduction. I really appreciate that. Yes, we all know, as the doctor said, I've been in mental health for over 25 years, dealing with individuals, families, you name it, corporations here in the metropolitan area of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And I have a practice in the state of Maryland and also work for the health department for the state of Maryland, and also a professor at Bowie State University teaching young budding therapists that we want to come out and help the community as well. And as we know, we are in trying times globally right now. You know, our lives already are filled with strife and life of death, marriage, relationships, children. We deal with things on a regular basis. People come to therapy on a regular basis because they're having a lot of difficult times in their life. But now the whole world is dealing with something all together at the same time. Some universal individuals are dealing with it differently than others, as we all see portrayed in the media all the time. But what we know, that there is always help, that nothing lasts forever, and that this too shall change. And so we have to be on the course of making sure we're doing what we have to do to make these things change. We know now globally there is over 8.5 million individuals that have succumbed to the form of pandemic of the COVID-19 disorder. We know that around the country, various individuals have died from it. Here in the United States alone, over 220,000 individuals have died for it. Unfortunately, and the numbers are continually to soar. Even yesterday, they had a total number of 82,000 just in one day here in the United States. So it's causing a lot of issues within the family. The economy has gone down. People are losing their jobs. There are people becoming homeless. There are people that don't have enough food to eat. And this is happening again globally, you all. And so what does that do? That plays on our psyche, because no one wants to be without a job. No one wants to be without food. But as we know again, hopefully we know it's not going to last forever. But what do we do in the meantime? What do we do to our mental psyche to help us? And one of the main things that I always tell people, it's always good to have a network, have a system in place. Whether you're calling your husband, you're calling your daughter, your son, or your mother, or your father, we need someone to communicate and help us through these hard times, because we can't do it alone. We know that one of the most known African tribes is that it takes a village to raise a family, to raise a child. So we need to connect to that village right now. I have roots, of course. We did our history of the Mambliki tribe in Cameroon. We have connections. We are all over the world, which you all are doing now. You are connecting with individuals all over the world. We have to continue to do that. And what we have to know that there's an issue. We know who we are individually. I mean, especially when you're past 13 years of age, you know when you're not feeling well, you know when something is not going on right with you. So what you need to do is reach out to that community, reach out to that counselor, talk about these issues. And that's what I provide with services. I provide talk therapy. It is a catharsis and being able to come in and talk to someone about your daily issues, your daily struggles. Because what we do as therapists, we've been around for a while. We know what we can do to help you and how we can even suggest certain things. And the last thing I try to do is suggest medication, but there's so many other things that you can do before medication comes in. And I keep on opinion on networking, because networking is so important. We need to do reading, do some self Everyone can't afford a therapist. We know that. You know, and so what we suggest sometimes for ones that can't, we suggest that you get on board your local social media. You know, look at your Instagram pages or the Facebook individuals. You know, journal, write down every day, write things and self-reflect and study about what's going on in your life. You know, practice mindful in some capacity about what your mind is taking on. You know, you got to take care of your body, because if your body's not right and your mind not right, physically and psychologically, then you're not right. So what you have to do, you have to eat as you're supposed to. You have to sleep as you're supposed to. You have to get that appropriate sleep and rest and food enabled for your body to function. You have to create a support network again. You have to learn to yourself maintain boundaries. We all have boundaries in our life. We have to know what our boundaries are, you know, and maintain them. You know, you have to build trust with yourself and keeping your word to yourself. And sometimes you might break that word, but you got to practice again self-compassion when you slip and how to mess up and get back on the right track. My father used to always say, hey, son, if you get lost, go to the side, pull to the side, compose yourself, regain what you're doing, and get back on track. Ask questions. You know, they always say a lot of times men don't like to ask questions. The same thing goes for therapy. Unfortunately, women are in therapy more than men, and they try to get their husband, their sons, their nephews to come to therapy, and it's sometimes a struggle. But one of my main things that I'm doing right now in the community is breaking the stigma for mental health for the African American community, and especially males. Everybody for years is, oh, Uncle Sam, something wrong with Uncle Sam, or Uncle Sam, he's coming home from the military. No, we all have to embrace what it truly is. In order for us to get help, we have to address the issue. And so we talk to our sons, we talk to our nephews and say, hey, there's nothing unlike being a man that you asking for help. Because what's worse than not asking for help? Being 6 foot under. Who wants that for their child, for their family member? So the stress level, we know, again, here in the United States, they said the pandemic is, the winter is going to be one of the worst times. The second surge is coming on. So what's that going to mean? More people are going to lose their job. More people are going to become sick. More people, unfortunately, are going to die. And so that mental health component, if it's not right, we have to deal with it. I'm a human being as well. I have to understand what I can take and what I can't take. But what I do know is some things I cannot control. And those things that I cannot control, I reach out, whether it's to other clinicians within the practice or other people that I know that are expert in the area that helping me maybe with another client, or Mike could help me with myself, because I don't have the wherewithal to know everything all the time. But I've been around for a while, I know a lot, but you have to bring that person in to be able to want to help assistance, that want to have help and helping them in those areas. I do a lot of talk with suicide prevention, my expertise on suicide prevention for the African-American male. And most things that most people don't want or want to hurt themselves is because not what they believe about themselves, is what they believe other people believe about them. So what we have to tell them, how important that might not be. You have to believe about yourself first and what you believe, who you are and what you are, especially if there's a spiritual component to yourself. Mental health now is becoming a lot about spirituality as well. All my clients, I definitely embrace them. I ask them, are you spiritually grounded? If not, that's your choice. But at the same token, we know that spirituality has a lot to do with the psyche and with the mental component of who we are as individuals. I know I am so grateful and thankful that my parents introduced me to that spiritual realm of our naturalization here on this earth. But at the same token, we all are combated with things over and over in our lives. And so what the talk therapy does and what it allows you to come out and talk about it. Because sometimes your thought process might not be in line with what you're thinking or why you're thinking that. And that's why the therapist is there to help you. To say, hey, Johnny, Sue, Murray, I hear that you're saying this, but let me tell you what things you can do to help you and coping mechanisms to help you with these fears. But again, the main issue that I want everyone that's to my listening ear to hear today is that networking with your family, your friends, and organization. Don't take this all in alone by yourself. Some things are just too overbearing for us to handle alone. I've been grateful enough to have a family of 12. My parents had 12 siblings. I had 7 brothers and 4 sisters. So I did not have to go far. We definitely had a village right within our own home. So I had 4 sisters I can go and talk to. I had brothers that I can go and talk to. So I had a network right there under my own roof. And I know it has resoundingly helped me throughout my life. And if everybody, yes, could have a network that I had, then I know everybody would be great, but everyone doesn't have that. And so you all, whatever communities you all are in, we have to start embracing each other as friends, as families, as a village. Again, we all are not able to afford a therapist, but we have to go over those things. So I want to, again, make sure that I said them at the beginning, but I want to make sure that you all heard the things that I said that we talked about. Again, you have to have a social network that you can refer to, whether it's some people not on social media, but find a newspaper or a news article or a news system that you can listen to on your social media. Read self-help books again. Have some type of reflection of yourself or your self-study. Practice mindfulness in some capacity. Take care of your body. The movement of sleeping and eating. Create a support network. Learn to self-maintain boundaries. Build trust with yourself by keeping your word to yourself. That's very important, very key. Trust yourself, you all. You know, also, natural being has some mechanisms that they give us for free. You know, it's called something about knowing what you believe in, what you feel, and you use that. Intuition, that self-intuition about what's going on around you. And that's what's going to help you keep you out of trouble as yourself. But sometimes, like you said, we got to keep our word, and sometimes we don't keep it. Don't beat yourself up too much about it because you wasn't able to keep your word, because things happen. They happen every day. And again, it's not what happened to us in our lives, it's how we deal with it. None of us could predict what would happen this last 7 or 8 months in February when the pandemic came to us. We didn't know it was going to happen. None of us. We were living our lives normally and going about our day, working and going to school, or just taking care of the family and doing whatever you're supposed to do. But boom, it hit us. We can't take it back now. So what we have to do and realize is that we cannot control it, but some things we can control. Here in the United States, there's a tug of war we know about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. You have to do what's best for yourself without even regulations from the government. The government is going to be around in every entity we have in this world. But there's yourself too, your self-government, how you govern yourself. You want to stay and be in existence for the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years in your life, what is best for you? Especially we know psychologically and physically, we have underlying conditions that are already there that's not helping a lot of individuals out. So they even more have to be very careful. And who was the pandemic hitting more? People of color. And we have to be embracing of that and being able to understand that. Because our mind, as we say, is a cliche, is a terrible thing to waste. But our mind is a powerful thing at the same token. And who's in control of our mind? Us from the start. Sometimes we let outside forces control us and take over us, but at the onside of it, we are the main manipulators of our mind. So what we choose to allow to come into our mind, we choose that. You can't handle certain news stations, certain news media, turn it off. You can't handle certain things that are coming from your family members, turn it off. You choose, especially as adults. Children, maybe sometimes they're forced to be manipulated by family members, their parents, or whatever. But we as adults, legally, of course, 18 to 21 years of age, we have that choice to what we allow to attempt to manipulate our mind. So I say to us all that are listening as well, do not allow the outside forces to manipulate your mind, especially if they're negative. We know when our body is trying to receive negative connotations for things for us to do. We know better. We've been taught better. Again, mental health is important. I continue to stress, talk about your feelings, listen to people. Don't stay in your room and be dormant in your room and not talk to anyone out. Even though the pandemic is keeping us bound in a certain location, limiting us to certain things we can do, but there's always a phone call away. There's always a Zoom call away. Talk to someone, everybody. Release what you're feeling. And those are the main issues I want to express and give to you all now. I definitely appreciate you, Dr.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. We have a lot of questions for you. That's why I don't want you to go. You still have 9 minutes. You've done well. And there are so many things. You do know you've loaded people with so many stuff, because these are techniques that are very important. These are meditations they can do. You've highlighted the need to focus and be observant of their environment, be observant of terms. And you told them strategy to tune off. Indeed, you are the professor of tuning off therapy, especially when you do not want to have things that can disrupt, distort your thought process. And I must tell you specifically that it is possible to change life through thoughts from listening to you. The questions we have here are like this. Moderator, thank you for always summarizing his points. I love what Dr. Wellington is saying. I am from Uganda. Now, the problem that I have is about building the social network. What if your social network are the ones that you need to turn off from? Where do you now go? And what is the role of spirituality, like you said? Because I'm a Christian, and sometimes I need to turn off some things that are also not helpful to me. I think his concept is this. He likes the need for us to have the social network. He agrees. But his choice is this: from where he comes from, he seemed not to have those people to edify him, or those people to upgrade him to the level that he can focus more and then be more better mindful, or to have positive outcome. What should he do? And how do you connect that to his own faith? He's an adamant Christian. He understands that his spirituality can help him in the coping strategy, like you highlighted. How can he marry such a thing together? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. Awesome question. And what we do know, it's not always about quality, or it is about quality. It's not about quantity. You can be 10 social media outlets that you might have been involved with. Cut them all off. Whether you need to accept one of them, fine. If you don't need to accept none of them, find another outlet. Find one individual. If I could have some approach in teaching by Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King were two of my favorite, then or Nelson Mandela, I don't need much more. Take one source of networking that you believe is positive for you in your life. Most of us know people in our lives. Like I said, we're most 21 or older. We've had somebody in our life to tell us something positive. Go back to that. Start out anew. Tune everything else off if you definitely feel that those things were negative. Sometimes we only need our spiritual realm. Talk to our spiritual realm. Allow it to talk to us in certain ways. I make sure every morning that I take 8 to 10 minutes by myself in my prayer room to talk to my spiritual being. And sometimes that might be all I need, but I do need that. And I need that at the beginning of my day. And it helps me throughout my day, every day. I do that. So you have, especially if you're being spiritual, sometimes you don't need anything else. And I'm happy to hear that you have that spiritual realm that you can deal with. But once you have that spiritual realm, allow that to guide you where you need to go from it. Pray on it. Tell your spiritual realm you need some new networking. You need some different social media, and watch what's going to happen to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. There are 4 more questions you need to answer. He said, let me read it out. My name is Nkobi. I'm from Botswana. Please tell Doc that I really love what he's saying. And these are some of the things that we should be doing. Does he have plan to do a free Zoom session, as he says? Because not everyone is able to pay for this, and not everyone understands the principle of thought process and mindfulness being able to change lives. I think what she's trying to say is this: all these things we're saying are for just maybe 100 and 200 of us, enlightening people that are able to have access to internet across board. That do you and your organization or your platform, are you looking forward in the future to doing free Zoom sessions so you can repeat these same things across board to people in regions? Or do you get interpreter? Do you train young people who can domesticate this understanding, not only in English, in French, in other places, so that people better understand because of the times in which we are living in? Then I'll ask you the other question. Go ahead, sir.
And that's what we do know, that right now, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists are overwhelmed because of the pandemic. That's what's going on globally. So what I do offer now, because our times, and that's why I'm here today to offer the service, because I wanted to give what I could today. But we're so packed and so jammed in as far as what we're doing, our time is limited right now, unfortunately. But what I do know, of course, I know in the United States, there are a lot of Zoom services that are available at no cost. But I'm not sure what the part of the world that you're in as far as they allow that. But there are, I would say, so check your local health department and see what they're providing, because we at the health department sometimes provide those as well for staff for sure, and sometimes for the community. So I say, well, check your local health department. And then if not at the health department, check with your local hospital. A lot of hospitals are in their mental health component can refer you to mental health societies as well.
Thank you, sir. Another question comes. Please, moderator, thank you for this session. I really am beginning to understand a lot of things about mental health. Please ask Dr. Wellington, what about stigma? What is it about people being stigmatized if they have mental health? In my area, they think it's a sign of weakness when you feel despair, or when you feel depressed, or when you feel like committing suicide. It's even a taboo in my area. Okay, I think what he's saying, we are receiving a lot of questions from other clients that see mental health as a disease or mental health as a problem, you know. So he's asking, why do people see mental health as a stigma, knowing fully well that all you just need to do is focus them on, let them be more mindful and be more aware of the things around them, so that they can make better sensational judgments rather than listening to distorted facts. Why do you think, from your own professional experience, mental health is a stigma, especially in developing nations? And why do you think in advanced nations, they do not take it serious? Because we are not hearing a lot of COVID lectures on mental health. We're not hearing that the government have funded you. Government of Maryland has given you 10 billion to reach out to over 10 million Maryland people who we know are sad and angry. And then the next question you should answer after that stigma question is, do you have school-based therapy? Please ask him if he has school-based therapy. I am interested in getting him to speak to some of our students in the hybrid section. And another one is, what should be the role of mental health in police reform? I guess guys still like the police. I'm sorry, I just want to ask as much as possible so you can take them in no order of importance, but that's the question. The stigma question, school-based therapy, do you have such thing in your establishment? And what's the role of mental health and awareness for the officers in light of police reforms and things like that? Go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
All very, very important questions. We know that mental health has been around since day one. We know here in the United States, mental health has become very, very to the forefront when our individual soldiers started coming back from World War II back in 1942. That's when a lot of emphasis started to be placed on mental health and placing individuals in mental health institutions. So what happens in our country and in the world, people don't like things that they're not accustomed to or things that they don't know. That's why they treated us as African Americans so badly here in our country, because we were somewhat different than them. So what do? You push different things to the side. You treat it differently. You don't like it because you don't understand it. And that's where the whole thing about mental health and why people treat mental health in the way they do is because they don't understand it.
They don't understand.
They don't understand it. So education is always key on helping people. We revolved, and over the years, in the last 20 to 30 years, mental health has become the forefront. We have something on our ballot this year in the state of Maryland that the county executive, which I work with as well, is asking for $20 million to help the county deal with mental health issues. It's becoming to the forefront more and more and more. And people like myself and other mental health clinicians in the area are trying to break the stigma. And the only way we can do that is to continue to educate individuals about it, especially educating the young, to know that you're just as strong as anyone else just because you have a mental health issue. There are mental health issues that plague our police department, and plague our doctors and our lawyers. We all, I don't care what walk of life, there's someone, our family member, that might be dealing with a mental health issue. So the word is getting out that it exists and that we have to do better by it. And again, education is going to do that. At Bowie State University, which is in Maryland, which I'm also an adjunct part-time professor, they on campus, and most campuses are doing it now, they provide mental health for the individuals because it is important, and they know that. Students are coming across the country to attend schools throughout all universities. So they know that you have a 17-year-old coming to a university, and they come from California, giving an example, but they coming across states of Maryland. No one, they have no friends, they have nothing. And they might have been dealing with psychological issues before they got to the university. So now as that exacerbated to a high level that's astronomical. So it's always key and important. Most universities, all universities that I know now, has a counseling department. And it's very important that they do that. And also with the police department, a lot of agencies are now, we're talking about it here in the United States. Vice President Obama, who's the Democratic candidate for the president, has been talking about, which we do. I used to work years ago on a force where I went out with the police department as a mental health clinician. I was able to see firsthand the individuals that are talking about suicide or talking about homicide. So I was there to assist the police department and try to de-escalate that situation. So it's happening around the country. It definitely happens in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They have what they call a mobile crisis unit. And that mobile crisis unit goes out with the police force to try to help them de-escalate. They need more of them, and that's the issue. They don't have enough to go around, but they do have some to help the police, because then there will be a de-escalation of murders or killings, because police they don't know what's going on. They don't understand it. So what they do, they pull out their gun or their taser. But if you had a mental health clinician that's been taught and trained and practiced over the years, I ran a mental health psychiatric hospital unit for 10 years here in Prince George's County, Maryland, where we saw the combating of people with schizophrenia or with drug-induced marijuana or PCP chemicals in the system that we had to de-escalate on a daily basis. So we know how to confront these issues, and they're out there. So yes, the police department definitely needs a mental health component within their agency. One, to evaluate their police officers before they come to police officers, to see how inept they are to be able to deal with the public society. So that's going on a lot in police departments around the country, that they have a mental health clinician that evaluates their police officers. That's very key and very important. So the police department needs two entities within their system. One, to evaluate individuals before they come in, and two, help to train, to educate, again, that word educate, to educate their individuals on how they can better combat mental health as they go out into the community and deal with individuals dealing with mental health.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roddy. I still have one or two more questions that have been sent, but I want to entertain the floor. Do we have anybody on the floor? Do we have anybody on the platform now, on the Zoom platform now, that wants to ask a question, so I can pick out questions for those that are not currently here, but they have sent us a question in advance before we...
Please, and Ms. Murray has my email address. You can always feel free to email me with some questions as we go further that I might not be able to answer all of them today, but I'll be more than happy to assist and answer some questions in the future.
Okay, sir. I know that your email is drrwellington@drrwellington.com. Is that so? If it's not, let's can you say it so that people get to know, and then we can move on from there.
Yeah, that is correct. That is.
And your website is drrwellington.com.
Exactly. D is 2 R's. drrwellington.com.
Okay, rwellington.com. Good. Thank you, sir. Sir, I would want you to answer this last question because it's very important. She says, and I'm quoting, thank you so much. I'm a vet officer. Been in Iraq, and I served in Iraq for some time, and I love what I'm hearing from you. Please, can you give me those steps again on the turning off theory? I think what he's saying is, you know, you gave some examples on if you cannot cope with hearing things on the TV that seem so polarizing, turn it off. If you are stressed out, park somewhere along the road. He says, can you give us those steps and examples for the turning off theory, and how can I help reduce the stress I am on? And that will be the last question. If there is no one from the floor, is there anybody from the floor that wants to ask a question? I'm sorry, Doc. Anyone? Hello, Dr.
Hello?
Mary, is there anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, Comrade Bello, please go ahead. You have the floor, sir.
Okay.
Please
Hello,
tell us
please,
where
can
you
you hear
are
me?
and address the question to Dr. Wellington.
Hello. Please, my name is Bella Baru. I am from Movement of New Nigeria for New Nigeria member.
Go
Hello,
ahead, sir, with
please,
your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay,
can.
my question is, my question is, I want to ask Doctor about the issue that you're talking, so we need to get his email so that we can ask him to know a lot of questions from him. Hello?
Can you come again? Sorry, Comrade Bello, can you just come again, the last statement you made?
Okay, please, I want him to send us some emails because we wanted to ask him because of now we know we don't have time, we don't want to waste for people time. So please, we need his email because I didn't write
Okay.
it, so I need to write it.
Okay, I will get it to you. It is Dr. R. Wellington at drrwellington.com, but I will post it on the link. It will be sent to the link for you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Wellington, let me, because the network in his country is poor. He says his name is Comrade Bello.
Yeah, that is why.
Yes, he says yes, that's the problem, that the network in his country is poor. He loves what he's hearing from you. He's so impressed that he wants you to repeat the email again so that he can direct those questions to you, but that your presentation, he receives it with a good heart. And his name is Comrade Bello Zubairu from Niger. So can you give us your parting word or your summary for today?
Well, like
and then don't forget about the theory of turning off that the vet asked about.
Let me also, I'm glad the veteran asked the question. I also, on my website, it shows that I work with veterans. I am also a veteran as well with the United States Navy for 10 years. I served on 10 companies. I almost made it to, I went to a state in Japan for years. So I do a lot of PTS and anxiety and depression for veterans. The veterans, and tell a young man if he's not receiving veterans benefits, then he needs to contact me. I help veterans receive benefits and do them what they call a nexus letter. A nexus letter helps submit to the Veterans Administration about what has happened to this individual, especially in wartime events like PTSD or anxiety, especially at this time. The veterans have been calling me at an alarming rate because of the PTSD that they've been receiving because of what's going on in the media, not only with the pandemic, but about wartime issues and what they see, and it's very harmful to them at this point. So one of the mechanisms I do provide for them is therapy, for sure, so they have somewhere, a mechanism to come and talk about the issues that they're dealing with. And if medication happens to be one of the issues after maybe 6 sessions, then that's what I recommend as well. But the tuning off, of course, that's where, again, you have to have those different mechanisms, to tune things off. Again, after my prayer at the beginning of the day, another, of course, thing with the medication of tuning off, I meditate for 10 minutes or so. That allows me to tune off and say, hey, what do I want to involve myself with when I come back from my meditation? My meditation, what does it do? Meditation makes you focus, allows you to focus. So you want to focus on things that you know, if you especially know that watching a certain news media outlet or watching a certain program upsets you and gives you a sense of anxiety, you know yourself that that's not a good thing for you to do. So it's easy to strike that one off. You write it off. And again, it's about self-preservation. You want to find things that are better for you, that helps you along in your day. If I'm going out and I know that going down a certain road is going to give me anxiety every day, and there's nothing I can do about that road and things I see on that road, I'm not going back down that road again. So a lot of things, we have choices in our lives to make that choice. So things that you're not liking and you don't want, then you have the ultimate goal of ruling them out in your life. But as far as mental health with the military and wartime stories, I've heard war stories from Vietnam War. I've even had several clients from World War II. And the atrocities and the things that the death and destruction that they've witnessed while they were at war is only you can see in a movie. And sometimes the movie doesn't portray what these individuals have gone through. Again, I want to thank that young man for his service and that's a commendable thing, and I appreciate that. But yes, tune it out. You have the choice. You have the ability to tune it out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wellington. I have really learned a lot. And there's anything anybody will get out of this presentation, like Dr. Wellington and say, is the need for us to get understanding. They don't understand. And as a spiritual person myself and as a Christian myself, and I think in many religious faiths, they say people perish. The holy book I read says people perish because of lack of understanding. It doesn't mean they die off. They just remain in a state of confusion, despair, hopelessness because they do not understand. And Dr. Wellington made it clear that mental health is not a disease. You are not cursed. It is not. It is because people do not understand. And education or seeking a counselor or seeking help, either from your social network, either from you focusing more critically, internalize of self-meditation. Those are ways that it can help. And he also explained that there are other applications of this therapeutic wellness principle in school-based system, in the corporate world, and in the military. And then he explained that there is definitely a need now that the entire world is asking for police reform to incorporate this wellness philosophy. You understand? But on an individual level, you must embrace the turning off theory that he proposed. And this turning off theory is whatever triggers and instigates to be more, to drift away from your normal stuff, turn it off. If it's the TV, turn it off. If it's the telephone, turn it off. If it is any of all those things, turn it off. Self-meditate, internalize, embrace who you are, be proud of who you are. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all for the opportunity, and you all enjoy the rest of your day and take care of yourselves.
God bless you.
Thank you.
We go on to the next